This new little bombshell on chip orders.
You know, Drew Peck follows this stock too pretty closely, Mark. It's called Maxim Integrated Products. Listen to these earnings, though. This is typical. Fiscal first quarter, 64 cents. Last year, 26 cents. The estimate was 48. So you're talking 16 cents above estimates. But in the press release, the company said, I'm quoting, for the first time in several quarters, factory shipments for the first quarter exceeded what we believe to be the current end market consumption for those products. Maxim expects this trend to continue through fiscal 1996 as production capacity continues to increase. So we're going to see how that works itself out. That stock was down, obviously, yesterday, a little bit over a point. It's been on a run. The company makes a broad range of integrated circuits for a bunch of different uses. And we're going to ask Drew when he's on about whether this is just another perhaps indication. It may be specific just to this company. Who knows at this point? Elsewhere this morning, Planar Systems reported earnings just a couple of minutes ago. 25 cents was a penny shy of expectations. Also this morning, Dillard Department. Third quarter was flat at 45 cents. That was 2 cents shy of expectations. We'll see what happens with the learning companies. The learning company says its board has unanimously rejected SoftKey's tender offer. And now Broderbund went from, I believe it was 0.812 shares that they were going to exchange, and they bumped it up to 0.92 Broderbund shares. And I think the SoftKey deal was valued at about $600 million, but then SoftKey sold off. You might remember they do a cash for the first 49% and then stock worth 65 for the rest. I'm not sure how this new Broderbund offer compares, but the two companies. Boards have agreed that they want to merge with Broderbund and learning companies. We'll see what happens, see if there's an answer from SoftKey. Adaptech, the only other one I want to do right now. Yesterday, Merrill suspended coverage and the stock was down hard. After the close, the company said it acquired Power.io. It looks like a privately held company. It also named Power.io's founder as chief operating officer. So that's it so far, Mark.
Joe, in the Maxim press release, they were talking about capacity, or is that a conclusion you're drawing? I just want to make that clear.
This was a quote right from the press release. I still even left the quotation marks on my script. For the first time in several quarters, factory shipments exceeded what we believe to be the current end market consumption, and it's going to continue to increase through 1996.
Interesting, because you and I and David have all raised the point with some of these CEOs that a lot of chip factories are still under construction, so that's certainly not going to get any better.
It's neat, though, isn't it, that now they can sell as many as they want. It sounds so great. We can fulfill everyone, but for what price? That's the whole key. What are they going to have to sell the things for once they're not once the supply is not tight? Go favor.
Yesterday, of course, Kurlak. I mean, he does change his opinions quite a bit, but he did say he was sensing undercurrents of change. That was his quote. In terms of moving from a shortage of chips to perhaps an oversupply situation. The reason that he downgraded those 5 chip makers yesterday, we seem to be getting the same sense that perhaps that's one of the undercurrents that he was seeing anyway.
You see, the Journal says that it was Intel and Packard Bell. Like we said, they still haven't confirmed. No one's confirmed that with the companies. They're once again citing analysts for that reason. Now, Drew, who's going to be on later today from Cowen, he's the guy that back on the 16th of October downgraded Cirrus Logic because of motherboard buildup inventory buildup at Intel. So we'll be able to ask him about that.
Yeah, well, we might be having the mother of all buildups here. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Now for a closer look at today's top stories, we're joined by today's special guest analyst, Sam Stovall of S&P Industry Report. Now for a look at some more stocks to watch today. Back to Joe Curtin's desk. Joe.
Mark, it does look like we're going to see a bounce, at least a select bounce, strong in some of the chip stocks, maybe not quite as strong in other ones. Remember, we talked about Maxim earlier. That stock responding to these earnings, apparently. As I said, first quarter was 64 cents. Estimates 48 cents. That closed at 76 3/4. It's bidding 80 right now. So it looks like it's going to open 3 1/4 points higher in spite of what they say. I guess initially, if you can supply demand, it's a good thing. You're just selling more chips. I guess it may take some time for if prices do erode for that to happen. So that stock called 3 1/4 points higher. Cirrus this morning, the stock that was down so hard yesterday on that big volume, is called about a point higher. It looks like 29 1/8 on the bid side. It closed at about 28. And Intel, I just checked, looks about a half a point higher right now. Of course, it's only 3 after 9. A lot can change between now and then. Learning company, we're going to be watching this to see how that reacts. It ran up. I think Broderbund's initial bid was valued at about 55 in stock, and this new one that's coming from Broderbund about $60.25. Now, SoftKey says their deal valued learning companies at about 65. You remember that was going to be a two-step deal, half cash and half stock. So it still is below that. We'll see, as we said, whether SoftKey is going to come back with anything. Adaptech was down yesterday. Can't tell whether it's going to bounce at all today. America Online last night posting earnings that were a penny ahead of expectations, and that's before some charges. The company said, this is pretty incredible, now has 4 million users. A year ago, it had one. What's that?
You posted during the day, though, right?
Yeah, no,
yesterday.
It was after the bell,
Was it?
I believe.
Limelight this week. We've been talking about them all morning, all week. One of the big movers, Maxim Integrated Products. Maxim reported blowout first quarter earnings yesterday of 64 cents a share, well above the 48 cents Wall Street was looking for. Maxim also said that supply had caught up with demand. Worries about excess capacity helped knock Maxim's stock. It lost almost 10% of its value yesterday, but as you can see from this chart, it is still, 45 points higher than its low earlier. Maxim makes analog computer chips that measure temperature, pressure, and voltage. Standing by at Stanford University in California, Jack Gifford. He's chairman and CEO of Maxim Integrated Products. In fact, he founded the company. Good morning, Jack, and welcome.
Good morning.
In your press release of earnings, you did make this statement, and I'm sorry I don't have it verbatim in front of me, something to the effect that for the first time in several quarters or years, shipments exceeded the level that you feel they are being consumed at the end. Wall Street took this as a very negative sign. Did you intend it as such?
Well, Wall Street often is disconnected from the industrial sector, and Wall Street saw, obviously, in some words, what they wanted to see. But Maxim, as those who follow us know, has a record that no other semiconductor company in the history of industry has ever accomplished, and that's with 40 consecutive quarters of increased earnings and increased sales, 10 years in a row. We would be the last company in the universe to be a leading indicator of any reduction in demand. The fact is that the analog industry, the 5 major companies in the business, which is an $18 billion business, Maxim being one of those 5 companies, are completely sold out. With the exception
All right, so your answer is no.
My answer's as I gave it to you.
Well, you didn't mean that it as negatively as the street took it.
Well, of course.
Is it a negative at all?
Of course not.
All right. You have a fascinating business here. I mean, you really do. 36 quarters of profits, gross margins near 60%, operating income up 20% in 93, up 39% in 94, up 61% in 95. You know, what's realistically your annual growth here looking out 3 to 5 years?
Well, we had the greatest quarter in the history of the company, and the stock fell off 10%. Basically, in the last 4 quarters, including the one we're in now, we will have grown over 60% in sales, in shipments, and we see this 10 to 12% growth a quarter continuing for the next 12 months. We're fortunate. We had an opportunity to acquire some manufacturing capacity. We're probably going to ship 75 to 80% more units this year than we did last year. Our competitors aren't going to be able to do that, but the fact is every one of us are sold out.
Jack, it's Michelle Laughlin. I'm going to throw to you a question that Mark gave to me earlier. You've said that actually a slower, stable economic environment benefits Maxim. Would you expand on that?
I didn't say that.
Okay. Well, then looking at the current environment that we're facing, probably a slower economic outlook, certainly perhaps into 96, assume that we hold in this 2 to 3% range. How is Maxim positioned for that then?
Well, that's just not an accurate assessment. This industry, the integrated circuit industry, the microchip industry, and our business, the analog segment of it, is in a period. I've been in this business 30 years. We are in a period of growth that I have never seen in 30 years. This will go down, along with the growth of the software industry and genetic engineering, as the greatest growth period in civilization compared to the Industrial Revolution, what the oil industry did to the growth in the United States, what the automobile industry did in the 20s to growth. So this idea of some short-term cyclical behavior is disconnected from at least my perception of where reality is.
You're not worried about the overall economy, or you're saying the overall economy isn't in the kind of shape that many analysts think it is?
Absolutely not in the shape that, as far as technology is concerned, we are the fuel.
Well, when you say as far as, I'm sorry, Jack, but when you say as far as technology is concerned, you are not completely divorced from the rest of the economy.
We are basically the economy. We are the driving force. The three technologies I described, software, microelectronics, and genetic engineering, are the three technologies that will drive the world economy in the next 15 years. They will dwarf any other major economic drivers. And the United States particularly is a tremendous advantageous position because we are a leader in these three areas. So I just see none of this short-term cyclical trend that's being talked about.
Boy, when I need a pick-me-up, I'm calling you. Joe Kernan wants to get in here.
Yeah, Mr. Gifford, Joe, as we know, the tight supply of chips has helped keep pricing very firm, maybe not for your company as much as for other ones, but can we read anything into, when you said yesterday that you're going to ship more than end-user demand will use, can we read anything into that about prices possibly not being as firm as they have been in recent years?
Well, in the analog business, actually prices have probably gone up. They certainly have in our company. The thing that I said that people who understand manufacturing systems understood, I believe, is that there is no inventory whatsoever in the analog pipeline, in the industrial basis. We're shipping as a company $400 million worth of business a year. There is not probably $15 million worth of inventory anywhere. Maxim's turns level is 11 times turns. Our inventory went down 26% last quarter. So our customers, unfortunately, are hand to mouth trying to keep their manufacturing lines running. When I talked about, saying that we needed to, for the first time, we've been able to ship enough to keep the manufacturing lines running. That's a statement that's true. For 3 quarters, we have actually been in a desperate situation, as has our competitors, in trying to just keep fuel in the line. For the first time in 9 months, we've finally gotten a situation where at least we're not in jeopardy of shutting people down every other month.
Okay, Jack, I appreciate your thoughts. Very interesting, and A+ for enthusiasm, and I hope someday we can say A+ for foresight as well.
Let's hope so.
Live from Stanford University in California, Jack Gifford, Chairman and CEO of Maxim Integrated Products. Coming up, more on the Squawk Box. Don't go away.